Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another brand new video. And I just want to say is before we get on with the video exactly, is that I actually will be saying something a little further. I actually will say is about the Clippy. Is that pretty nice? But I'll say this by the way that I'm just only making a video about a Clippy exactly. That's just a bit interesting that I never saw my eye on. I think it says, why is everyone a Clippy? Like, that's interesting. I find this a little interesting that I will say, in my expression, that I will say I find this impressive, just to say this is oh, it's about some protest that's just going on. Exactly. That's just some protest going on with YouTube, which, yeah, I'll be honest with everybody, exactly in my opinion, that I have to say, yeah, I hope actually, hopefully, it does help with the Clippies. I guess I hope it really does help exactly with the Clippies. Just saying it's oh, there's gonna be a Clippy comment exactly that's gonna be on anywhere exactly that has the profile. Which, by the way, I did look on some videos anyway, and just looked on some of them. For example, by saying is why is everyone a Clippy? That that is so interesting. In fact, that I've never even heard of a Clippy before. Which I know it's like a clipboard. Like there's always a Clippy for anything that's on a clipboard or something that you can do exactly and just put it on something. But I actually do find this impressive. Again, that I find this impressive. That I actually do say that I actually say this by the way. That oh yeah, Clippies all the way. I mean, I kind of prefer Clippies better. Exactly that I kind of prefer this better. Exactly that the Clippies are a bit better. Exactly, which to be frankly honest, that the Clippies by the way are pretty cool. By the way, that I actually do say I see a lot of comments these days by actually everyone becoming a Clippy exactly, and then standing up exactly against YouTube's update of its complete mess exactly with the whole thing going on exactly that's affected or anything, which I'm just only separating two videos exactly by actually me giving an opinion about a Clippy exactly, and then something I might actually briefly say. But unfortunately, I'm only just going to make one topic about a Clippy thing, and then I might think about something else next, which I still, again, haven't forgotten anything yet, which I've never considered forgetting anything about that. Which, like I said, it's just going to kind of be my kind of talking of an opinion or something that I say again to some people that everybody's got to stand up exactly, which we everyone else in the community is already standing up exactly. But the only thing that needs to kind of count is bigger YouTubers that should definitely take a stand, which I know they've got lots of different things on their schedules and probably a little bit occupied and a little bit of something what they're doing with their doing with their other lives they're doing with, which I do expect that I was pretty impressive with the real channel that was Moist Critical Charlie, that I'm actually impressive that he took a stand on it exactly and started actually making a lot more sense by the way with oh, with the blah 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 and yada 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 with some idea blah 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 or whatever scamming blah 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 and stuff. But again, it completely makes zero sense, and I'll say this that it'll probably be saved up for another debate or something, which that could be saved for later at this point. But let's just talk on the good side about the Clippy. So I did saw this channel by the way that I actually looked on some research the other night that I did looked up by the way, and there was one channel that was talking about becoming a Clippy, and I'm like, damn, impressive. Which by the way, I do side with the real people exactly. By the way, real people all the way, absolutely. Like, just absolutely. Which, like I said, by the way, I probably say again and will say for more exactly that the Clippy, by the way, I'll be honest with everybody, that the Clippy is pretty interesting. That I've never heard about this before, about a Clippy, about everyone becoming a Clippy. And I'm like, wait, is this thing for real? And is this actually for real? That I actually do see a lot of comment sections when it comes to, like, I don't know, like other videos and stuff, like other topics or anything that like shows up on any comment that shows up by whatever exactly by saying like the Clippy quotes exactly. But like I said, I'm a little new to something like that exactly, since even if it is kind of a bit of like annoying thing, I was like way, way back in the time or something like way back in the time, which, don't get confused or anything or backworded or something. It's just true, that it was kind of annoying at first, but it turns out that it was like an assistant the whole time. It was like an assistant the whole time by saying is like, just like to help you write stuff, write down things, or save anything, or do anything. Like, that's impressive. I've never seen anything like anybody does that. Like, one YouTube channel actually puts a Clippy on a profile pic. That is pretty badass, and I'll admit that is pretty cool. So, by any chance, right now, I gotta say this is just the most interesting opinion I've ever seen before. That I've actually would probably want to get on with that sooner, but I just wanted to like borrow my time and just think of something that I've never seen before of this opinion before by saying is like, why is everyone a Clippy for the first time ever? That, my God, that is like crazy. That is like Crazyville. Not only that is Crazyville, but that is like the most interesting thing that anybody's ever done on YouTube, exactly for history, like in the very history books. Like, don't get me wrong, that is actually impressive. And I'll say this again, that it's impressive to do that, by the way, which I've never seen anybody did this before by any time right now. Like, the only one who did like the Clippy, I don't know, I might have to like look up on the person's name, I think, but let me just go ahead and just take a look exactly on this so-called Clippy that I'm actually going to look on here and just take a look. So let's just see how am I going to look at this exactly, of the Clippy exactly, which I might consider looking at that. So let's just go ahead and take a look, of course, and see what this Clippy is about, which, by the way, I might actually take a look at this. So let's give it a shot and let's just go ahead and take a look on the Clippy. So let me go ahead and see this. So I'm going to say is Clippy channel. All right, let's see. Wait, I'm going to say is who made a Clippy channel? Come on. I gotta think of something. I think it was like somebody, I guess, but I couldn't find the name. But I guess the name makes more sense when I look at it. But never mind. Never mind. So, like I said, if anybody could like go ahead and find one channel name that actually did the Clippy thing exactly, however, who invented the Clippy protest thing, which, by the way, there are some interesting things I've never heard about a protest exactly, which I know there's several protests out there. I know there's like a lot, and I mean a lot of protests around. I can definitely understand the coincidences that I can probably notify about. But like I said, I might not get the best knowledge a little bit from my brain, exactly for a little bit of some intelligent a bit. But, like I said, there are some interesting protests that probably would be a bit of good or not so much. But like I said, there are some sides of the angle that's like good and then not so much. But here's my point, is that the Clippies, and I mean the Clippy, by the way, of like so-called protest, is a bit of interesting once I got to know it a little bit. But like I said, I'm a little new to this like so-called Clippy thing, which it is interesting, in fact, that I'll actually will give it a few pointers and just say how interesting the point is by any chance again. That Clippy is pretty cool, and I'll admit that it's awesome. And I'll say this, that it's even going to be on my separate channels, though, that might cover on with this and talk on with this exactly. But let's just say that I'm only making this as a small, short percentage of an opinion. Just only something small that I'm only going to say. Just because I don't have anything to do doesn't mean I might have to like make something of a video or just randomly make something. But let's just say the Clippy, by the way, of the Clippy protest, or so-called Clippy, by the way, is a little bit odd and a little bit ambiguous or something, I guess. But just to say the fact, like, whenever you think about it, like, whenever you, like, go back to the olden days and go back all the way to the good days of, like, way back old, by seeing a Clippy or something that appears randomly on any computer that shows up on anything. Like, for example, it's like back when, like, before it was like caveman past prehistorically history that was like passed away from it, but now gone to the Clippy era, exactly, with like the olden one of the good days used to kind of be that kind of thing with Clippies these days. That probably was to be insist. But when it's like right now in 2025, I'm very surprised. And I can really guarantee I find this a little surprising to me. A bit. That I find this a bit impressive. Like, I'm just like a person who just thinks that's awesome a little bit. I'm just a person that thinks it's pretty cool for a little bit and just say how awesome it is and how kind of okay it is, which I'm a little new to this idea about like some Clippy thing, but trust me, there are some things that might probably make sense or even a bit more sense about a Clippy, but further again and further more odds exactly, it's just that it's a little interesting and I don't get how I find it interesting, but I just do get to find this interesting, so there you go. That's all I want to kind of say right now. But, without further ado, I'm Devin-Foxy, remastered again. And this is just a fact that I actually really want to talk about this video and just say is that, go ahead and join the Clippy protest, by the way, if anybody's ever, like, still doing it now. Like, keep going, exactly. Like, for me, exactly, all I want to say is keep going, don't stop about talking it, and I will say again that everybody's got a voice, including myself, that everybody should have a voice. Everybody should. It's only about like its update, which I do assume again I probably won't be talking about it until further then, which or whatever exactly. But remember, this is only a talk about the Clippy thing, not the way else around. Which sure I might talk less a little, but there probably will be more if I ever will get to say anything of it. But like I said, this by the way, I really want to come up on make the stand and just say is like the Clippy protest, pretty smart move and a bit of a genius move to like kind of like make things shift a little bit, just make another shift around and just like change something shift exactly that actually makes more sense exactly like staying up for everybody exactly, which I'm not too sure about mostly 100% it could help, but I think in the end it might actually back most likely good things coming around to this time, which I hope it could really do something about it. But to me, like I said, I just hope that good things might come around to this, and somehow the update of its AI might backfire, and it might just like do that exactly, and just backfire completely, and just won't probably do anything, and just like similar exactly, which I've not said anything towards it yet. But to my honest opinion, I say this before that I'll say this that yeah, I hope the Clippy protest continues. And I hope the boycotting continues exactly too, which I might be new a little bit towards that too, exactly, which I might be less used to saying the word. But like I said, I hope the Clippy protest continues on. And I will say this, I'll side with the real people, that's the users, that I'll actually side with them anyway, and just say that, for the good reason, just to fight for the good reason exactly, for a good cause, which even and again, it sometimes will come to the middle of the side of it, that comes to the middle of it. But like I said, hopefully something could really come on to something good and might something how exactly that might fix everything and it might disappear the whole thing away exactly, which I hope so, to be honest. But like I said, is going to be a very much in the middle side of everything, which I guess it's going to be like that, or be much like with dystopians or whatever that's going to be, but whatever. So, without further ado, guys, I hope you guys actually do again say is like support the Clippy protest, which if anybody is or isn't right now, that's fine. I mean, it's just a little bit of some support to help exactly for helping the Clippy exactly that might help exactly for like everybody that's going on the users exactly so far. If anybody's ever heard about all of this exactly, trust me, go ahead and I mean sincerely save everyone. And yes, there is a politicians exactly for like the politician, I think, or something like that, or like whatever. I was trying to get the word right, or sometimes, but hey, this is just me talking about like saying is like, oh, you have to like sign something exactly. I might have to like sign like a politician or something and just like save the whole website without being going off exactly. But like I said, I just hope to say this completely frankly honest that the Clippy protest will continue on for like day by day. I just hope it continues. Like I hope so in the end, which I do again. Hope it works 100% frequently, and I hope so. But like I said, this is just an opinion, not a fact. But this is just me talking about what I want to talk about here. But just to be on all fair sides on the room, exactly what I want to say is that let the protests continue and let the boycott continue as long as the update just gets banned. And I just hope it just fixes everything. And yes, I do expect it's going to backfire, and I hope it's just going to go right down the toilet and it just goes way down. Which, by the way, I even explained the other side of that too, which might be saved on later. But like I said, the old saying is, and what the old saying goes exactly, is that when something bad happens, there's always like two choices to go for. Is either stand up what you stand for, or just like stand there until something actually really happens for good, or exactly like there's like two things happening is either wait or do something or never say anything at all, which that's a third choice too. It's just, like this or pretty much like that, but whatever. So that's all I just want to talk about. And that's all I want to say exactly. But yeah, I probably will just say again is exactly as I hope you guys definitely do again enjoy this video. And this, by the way, I just really want to go on and just talk about here and just say is this, for example, that, well, by any chance that I hope you guys actually do in fact enjoy this video, and I hope this actually helps, by the way. And also please be sure to spread the word for like everybody to spread the word about this thing, exactly this whole scenario going on with like this update thing exactly. That's just not gonna look good exactly, which it isn't gonna look good for anybody, which it just really isn't. But for me, I probably agree for everyone too. I actually am on the side with the people, not the other side around. But like I said, man, the update's gotta get banned and it's gotta stop already. It's just gotta stop. But anyways, like I said, the Clippy, by the way, is awesome. And I'll admit the Clippy is cool. And I'll say this again, that go ahead and support the protests and go ahead and boycott pretty much like with the site exactly and for whatsoever until the update thing gets banned or something, or maybe just like directly contact with like the site anyway, just contact with them and just says like, oh, like, they express the concerns exactly, like express the concern what's actually doesn't suit anybody exactly, or suits me, you, or everybody exactly for anyone. So if I were myself already, those are like three choices to make. Is either A is stand up and just stand up for what's right and stand up for truth and justice and stand up exactly for the protest of the Clippy exactly and for much more. And then number two is just sit and wait exactly until something good naturally happens, which that probably would be a number two, but I'm not sure if it could succeed for two, but I don't know. And then number three, by the way, is either just like not do anything and maybe just like and for what number two option is. But there could probably be three or two route ways to go with it and just say is that, it's just time that we gotta all stand up, that we all gotta stand up, just for the good cause. That we're just saying is that nobody isn't gonna kind of like this update. It's just gonna kind of backfire in the end, that it's just not gonna work. And also please remember to pretty much likely not fall for any of this. Don't fall for any of it exactly. And don't kind of follow for like the scan thing or exactly like credit cards or like whatever. It's just not a good thing to do exactly. Which, by the way, it's just not going to look good. But by the way, we're going to probably expect something a lot more different and similar to any of this. But like I said, by the way, this is just only my statement of the talk, nothing else more. But there probably will be a second one, either which way I'll explain it. But the first one, by the way, I'm only talking about the Clippy. That's it. Just Clippy. And then something else, I'll actually say something serious. And just for a serious thing to talk. Which, by the way, we all have voices to say, we all have something to say, and we've all got something to speak about. So that's what everyone's got to do right now. So, anyways, if I were you guys right now, go to the politician exactly, or if I can't get the word right, that's fine. But go ahead and save the site and save it, and just make it like a recount or maybe like redecision, YouTube's redecision exactly, and do all that exactly. But anyways, this is just me talking about what I want to talk about. But anyways, without further ado, I'm yours truly. That I am Devin-Foxy, remastered here again. That I'll be sure to see you guys. Frankly, fair enough, absolutely, in the next video. And like always, again next time. So please be sure to give this video a like and comment and subscribe and hit the bell to be again notified. That way, again, you guys absolutely will not miss a single video that comes straight to the channel. So, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. So, peace out, goodbye, and see you later, everyone. Take care, and goodbye, and see you next time. Signing on out. Later, and goodbye.